Welcome back to the She Can channel, where we profile women from all walks of life, how on their journey, how they got to where they are today. And today I'm really excited to talk to Beth Silvers. Beth, welcome to the She Can channel. I'm really excited to hear your stories. You
Thank you, Stephanie.
are co-hosting an incredibly successful podcast called Pantsuit Politics with a friend you met at college. Tell us a little bit more about what you do with this incredibly successful 30 million downloads, 870 episodes in. Tell us a little bit where you are now and how you got there.
My friend Sarah was blogging while I was practicing law and then becoming a human resources executive within my firm. I was a little bit lost on my career path, so I was trying different things. Sarah's writing interested me because she would, in one post, talk about motherhood, and in the next post, talk about some geopolitical event. And it felt like the combination of things that I was passionate about and that I cared about, it really met me where I was. So I reached out to Sarah, having not been in touch with her since college, really, except online. And I wrote for her a couple of times. And she eventually invited me to start a podcast with her. I didn't know what a podcast was when she reached out, when she had that idea for us. But I said yes because I was a little bit lost in my career and because the work she was doing so connected with me. And I just felt ready to take a leap of some kind of faith. And so I did. We started making the show. Pantsuit Politics was a name that she had in mind for a completely different concept, but it was there. And so we just sort of seized the moment and the graphic assets that she had, and started sitting down after we put our babies in bed and after the workday had ended to discuss the day's news. And what I really loved from the beginning is that Sarah's very courageous and she never feels constrained by the way everyone else is doing something. And that led us into really interesting conversations that we couldn't hear anywhere else. So that's what we say now, that we take a different approach to the news. Our intention is to show up as moms and friends and partners and children of parents, and citizens of the world and people with law degrees, and kind of bring all of that perspective to what we see happening as we try to make some meaning of it and figure out what the news calls us to in our personal lives.
Beth, and you do that so successfully. And the thing that I absolutely love in this day and age where we have such a cancel culture is that you come from differing opinions and you respectfully and gracefully discuss them with each other, right? And it shows your political journey. You are sort of somewhere on the right, so you were a Republican at least, and you then changed with the Trump era to become a Democrat. I would love to know more about that journey. You also wrote a book or co-authored a book. I think you're wrong, but I'm listening, which is a guide to graceful political conversations, and that's really what you do on your podcast. And we need to hear many more voices like that, but also we need many more women talking about all the other female role models we have in the political arena, which is also what you do. So tell us a little bit more about that journey that you went through to get to where you are today in terms of American politics and where you stand.
When we started the show, as kind of an elevator pitch for what we were doing, we introduced ourselves as Sarah from the left and Beth from the right. I tried to say from the beginning that I do not strongly affiliate with groups. It's just not an aspect of my personality to strongly affiliate with groups. Sarah does. And so most of our fundamental differences are differences of personality more than of policy. And that difference shows in our partisan affiliation. So Sarah was a very strong Democrat, very comfortable being Sarah from the left. Beth from the right was always a more awkward fit for me because there were ways in which I aligned with the Republican Party and ways in which I did not. And quickly, when we started the show, the harshest emails that I received came from Republicans who felt that I was not a good representative of their views. And so we really talked through that over a period of years. What does it mean to announce your ideological affiliation? What does it mean when it means something different to you than people hearing that announcement? How can I be really honest with our listeners about where I am? And so now I talk about my affiliation for purposes of voting in primaries. I live in Kentucky where we have closed primaries. So if you want to vote and participate in choosing nominees of the parties, you have to be affiliated with those parties officially. So in 2019, I switched my registration from Republican to Democrat, was very honest about that on the show. I have just a few days ago switched my affiliation back to Republican for the strategic purpose of voting in the presidential primaries next year on the Republican side. I would like to vote against Donald Trump, and that's what I'm going to do. So I try to be more precise with the way that I identify now. I always say, I hope that my party affiliation is the least interesting thing about me. And I think that's been a big part of what I can bring to the show. Where Sarah and I differ, it's always an asset. Our differences always lead us right. They lead us to a better business idea. They lead us to a better editorial calendar. They lead us to a healthier work-life balance. So I try to always lean in when we're seeing something differently because I know I'll learn from it. And I hope that that's the message of our show. So Sarah is a fantastic representative of what it means to affiliate strongly with a party and invest in all the good that a party can do politically. And I hope I'm a good role model for what it looks like to lean out of that structure and ask different questions and try to show up still strongly in your community to make a difference, but through different avenues.
Yeah, and I love that, Beth, because it shows the different sides, right? Which is our human journey. We are not all the same, and we also don't want to be defined by certain things. So I'm very grateful for that, for you two being the role models to all the other girls and women who will identify with that. Beth, so what do you think is your main motivator going forwards? You've been incredibly successful. You've released a book together. You release 2 episodes a week. It's a full-time job. What is your motivator going forwards? What are you trying to maybe not fight for, but really trying to get across in the next couple of years?
I am motivated by our audience and how important it is to our audience that we just continue to show up and be really honest. I think for me, when we sit down to record, I am more and more focused on recording in a way that is distinctive. If I'm going to interview a guest, how can I ask that guest different questions than they're asked somewhere else? If we are going to discuss a topic that's everywhere in the news that you can turn on any political podcast and hear about, what makes our conversation feel refreshing? You know, we, like many people, have been really invested in Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce this year. And I loved his interview with the Wall Street Journal where he talked about being a fountain instead of a drain. And I think that that's where I am in my career. I don't have a lot of ambition beyond what we're doing right now. I'm really content and satisfied and rewarded and challenged by the work I'm currently doing. So my quest is like greater depth in that work and to really feel like for our audience, we are being fountains, not drains.
Yeah, amazing. Beth, and what would you say are your top qualities in doing that? What makes you so good at what you do? And you've alluded to some of those things earlier.
I'm a good listener. I think I listen well to Sarah. I think I listen well to our guests. I hope that I listen well to our audience. That's harder because there's this vast array of people listening in different ways all over the world. Some of them never communicate with us directly. And so I'm always trying to balance, like, what am I learning from those who do communicate directly versus the many, many people who listen and will never send us an email or write a comment. But it is that deep listening that I think keeps me grounded and keeps me humbled, I hope, and keeps me searching for a better question. And
Yeah,
I think that that's what I can bring to the show.
yeah, thank you for that. What are you most proud of on this journey, Beth, to date?
Mm. It's really hard to say. I am really proud when I get an email about families who listen together. I'm thinking specifically, we've had the pleasure now of meeting some of these folks, but there's like a father and daughter who live across the country from one another and they text about our episodes. there are amazing stories of people voting for the first time, running for office. You know, people are really generous in saying, you inspired me to do X, Y, or Z. Those familial connections or the friendships that are facilitated, that we can be a jumping off platform for people to connect more with each other, means a lot to me.
Beth, and what top tips would you give to girls or women anywhere listening on how to deepen their sort of political understanding, their will to vote, their will to show up in this world, understanding that they are a piece of this puzzle and every one of us makes a difference?
I think it's really easy to feel that if you're going to make a difference, you have to be, the total package. You have to have everything figured out. You have to have all the different types of skills that make one relevant politically. What I hope that we can get better at doing is recognizing that a democracy needs everybody. And, we had this wonderful conversation once with a group of women legislators in Iowa, and they were telling us about how they were trying to get more introverts involved with their campaigns. Because in American politics, it's like go knock on doors before an election. That's how you participate politically. And they were saying, not everybody's a door knocker. Not everybody can make cold calls, but people can make lunches for those volunteers who are out canvassing. People can help us think through our messaging. People can help design graphics for our brochures. All this to say, you have particular gifts and those gifts are needed. And so I think, if I could go back to my younger self and say something, it would be spend less time worrying about all the things you aren't and get really clear about what you are and build and build and build those strengths of what you are, and just trust that there will be places for you to plug in that capitalize on those strengths.
Thank you so much for these excellent tips, Beth. So, what are your dreams or goals going forwards for your life, for Pantsuit Politics, for your relationship with your amazing co-host? Are there any more books coming out? What is in store for you?
We're going into an election year. So next year will be very much about trying to cover this election with integrity and a sense of groundedness. Beyond that, we are hoping to do more live events because we love being able to gather in person with our listeners. We don't have current plans for another book, but I think both of us enjoy writing and that there will be times and opportunities for us to write in one style or another. Mostly, I just hope I get to continue doing this. I love when we get to go speak on college campuses or in businesses. I love the way that the whole world is like my textbook every day, that I just get to keep learning. So I hope that in my life I'm able to do this until I'm ready to retire. And I mostly hope at this point, now that I'm in my 40s, that I continue to have this deep friendship with Sarah and with other people. I am probably more goal oriented around cultivating intentional relationships than I am about my career at this point. And that feels right and good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Beth, thank you so much to both of you for being such important role models, for holding the space for those important conversations. And thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me and for all that you're doing to tell women's stories. I think it's really important.